Well, tonight, more reasons to ditch oil means big business for those in the home heating game.
If you're in the home heating oil delivery business, yesterday's announcement about the carbon tax was met with great relief.
It's like Christmas Day, because not only me that gets a break, it's everybody here in Newfoundland and Labrador.
I'm Terry Roberts. That story coming up.
Yesterday's announcement also has political implications, came just as the Conservative leader arrived in Newfoundland and Labrador. I'm live at a rally that he's about to hold. We'll have details coming up.
From sunrise to sunset, about 100 runners are going to tackle a 50-kilometer running race along the East Coast Trail tomorrow. I'm Jeremy Eaton, and I'll introduce you to two of the runners.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. There's relief today among those who heat their homes with oil and for those who are in the business of supplying that fuel and servicing oil-fired heating systems. Here and Now's Terry Roberts has our top story.
This is familiar work for Derek Skinner, preparing a new oil storage tank for installation in this Mount Pearl home. But he's moving with a little extra energy today. Relieved the controversial carbon tax on home heating fuel will soon be removed.
Not only me that gets a break and not getting new computer systems for the truck, it's everybody here in Newfoundland and Labrador.
We are announcing a 3-year pause.
Following months of backlash, the Prime Minister announced yesterday they're getting rid of the carbon tax on home heating fuel beginning in 2 weeks. Big news for homeowners like this man. He doesn't like paying an extra 17 cents for a litre of oil when inflationary pressures are already squeezing his wallet. And since the HST is applied after the carbon tax, the extra burden is closer to 20 cents.
It's like, you're $160 for a tank of fuel. 5 tanks of fuel a year. I mean, it's a lot of money. And that could feed a lot of mouths.
Oil heats an estimated 40,000 homes in this province, but that number is shrinking steadily, thanks in part to government grants and the push toward more environmentally friendly heating systems. The carbon tax is meant to speed that transition, but a skyrocketing cost of living forced the Prime Minister to backtrack. It used to cost this homeowner $300 to fill this tank. Now it's more than $2,000. So adding a hefty carbon tax is about as welcome as a cold draft in January.
Nothing's going down, it's all going up. So when you see something like this, something actually go the other direction, it's a bit of a relief because, people are up at night just trying to figure out what did they pay, how did they get by this year.
Now that he's got a 3-year holiday from the carbon tax, this man says he plans to switch out his oil furnace before the tax comes back.
That's my 3rd oil tank I put in this house since I bought it, and I think it'll be my last one, I would imagine.
Derek Skinner says the carbon tax was killing his business, and he admits he sometimes feels like a dinosaur heading toward extinction, with customers routinely dropping off.
This definitely seems like a dying trade.
He's preparing to retool his company to begin installing heat pumps, but he also expects to be delivering oil to homes for years to come.
People that got oil, they can't afford to switch over right now. They just don't have the money.
Derek Skinner says yesterday's announcement was like an early Christmas present, and he praises Premier Andrew Furey and Liberal MP Ken McDonald for leading the fight to remove carbon tax from home heating fuel. Now, Skinner agrees that heating your home with oil eventually has to come to an end, but he says people just need more time. Terry Roberts, CBC News, Mount Pearl.
Well, the Prime Minister's reversal on the carbon tax came just hours before opposition leader Pierre Poilievre landed in St. John's. He's hosting a rally tonight with a focus on the carbon tax. And that's where Here Now's Peter Cowan joins us live. So, Peter, what's his message?
Well, it's not hard to figure out. It's called Axe the Tax. This is part of a series of rallies that the opposition leader has been holding right across the country. And of course, the timing fortuitous right after the Prime Minister made that change. And while the Liberals have been selling that change as listening to constituents and making a change, today the Conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre, said it's about something very different.
Justin Trudeau's not worried about the cost of living. He's worried about the cost of votes. And that's what caused his panicked flip-flop yesterday.
On the rooftop of a parking garage overlooking downtown St. John's, Pierre Poilievre repeated his promise to scrap the whole carbon tax.
Pierre Poilievre and the common sense Conservatives will axe the Trudeau tax entirely and forever. There will be no flip-flopping. There will be no turns of corners. There will be no little targeted exemptions here or gimmicks there. We will axe the Trudeau tax completely.
It's not just Poilievre. The Liberals faced pressure from their own caucus to reverse the tax, especially on home heating fuel, with MP Ken MacDonald speaking out against it. And then there was pressure from the province. There was pushback not just from the PCs, but from Liberal Premier Andrew Furey.
It deserves recognition that the Prime Minister listened. We've been saying this for 18 months to 2 years, privately, in letters, publicly. So I do think that it shows that he listened.
But if he's not going to use taxation, how would the Conservative leader cut greenhouse gas emissions? He mentioned a few projects he'd develop all elsewhere in the country.
I would remove the duplication so that Quebec can more quickly build its hydroelectric dams to double emissions-free hydroelectricity production in that province so that we can power the green economy of the future. I would greenlight tidal wave power like the kind Trudeau killed off the coast of Nova Scotia. I would incentivize and approve carbon capture and storage projects in Western Canada.
Well, you may not be able to tell it from this campaign-style rally, but a federal election could be as much as 2 years away. However, with the Conservatives surging in the polling numbers, and right now they only have one of the 7 seats here in Newfoundland and Labrador, Pierre Poilievre is hoping rallies like this can help him hold on to that popularity until that next election, whenever it's called. Reporting live in St. John's, I'm Peter Cowan for Here and Now.
Well, the Atlantic premiers pushed back against the Liberals' carbon tax, but they weren't the only ones. Liberal backbencher Ken MacDonald sided with the Conservatives twice, voting to repeal the carbon tax. He was the only member of his party to do so, and today he says he feels Ottawa heard his concerns.
I was listened to, and other caucus members were listened to get this where it is today, to get people out in rural communities able to install these, people call them heat pumps, I call them mini splits, because most houses are not designed to have what you call an actual heat pump. I think the availability of those are going to be an issue. Getting the manpower out there to install them are going to be an issue. So hopefully it's not too big of an issue and we can get this moving along quickly and smoothly. Some people are going to be skeptical, I think, and I've heard a few today who are wondering, like, okay, so is this for real? Is it going to last? Is it just to, as somebody said earlier, to change the polling situation that we see taking on across the country? So, but I think it's for real, and I think it's here to stay, hopefully.
Well, in other news, the Premier is set to apologize to residential school survivors and their families in Labrador. Andrew Furey's first visit will be to Rigolette in Postville on November 1st, with Makovic and Hopedale to follow the next day. On November 3rd, Furey will visit Nain and Happy Valley Goose Bay. The apologies will happen in partnership with the Nunatsiavut government and survivors. The province says anyone impacted by residential schools as well as community members are invited to take part in those ceremonies. Mental health support will be available. Well, a housing advocate involved in the ongoing St. John's tent demonstration is facing fraud charges. Michelle Voisey has been a central figure in those protests, bringing attention to local housing problems and advocating online for donations. But while that work is ongoing, she's been dealing with allegations related to fraud. Here Now's Daryl Roberts has more.
Next week, here at Supreme Court, we'll find out more about a fraud case. It's a case of 2 names, but 1 person. Michelle Voisey is known as a housing advocate, but under the name Michelle Gushu. She's been soliciting donations to help the people participating in the tent protest outside Confederation Building in St. John's. Like this request for $200 to put a couple of protesters in a hotel and buy them a meal. Also asking for donations of gift cards, hygiene products, cell phones, and tents. But Voisey is also in court. She's been charged with 2 counts of fraud against an individual, one over and one under $5,000. Both crimes are alleged to have been committed in 2020. Voisey would not comment on the charges, but she said she is not the person collecting the money for the tent encampment. Voisey is also involved in an organization called Open Hands, which describes itself on social media as providing housing support to the most vulnerable. The fraud charges are not related to housing protests. But Voisey has played a prominent role here. On Wednesday, she joined NDP leader Jim Dinh outside a for-profit shelter that's gotten some critical media attention. The NDP says they weren't aware of the charges and declined comment. Voisey, under the name Michelle Gouju, has showed up in news stories as an advocate for incarcerated women. She's the former executive director of the provincial chapter of the Elizabeth Fry Society, which appears to have folded. The pending charges aren't connected with that organization. Under the name Michelle Gouju, she has an extensive criminal record with dozens of past convictions, many involving fraud. In 2015, she was sentenced to 3 years in prison for defrauding 4 businesses and an individual. With respect to the current charges, she's due back in court next week. Daryl Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, a very happy Friday to you. But unfortunately, the weather won't be so happy. That's because there is rain on the way, and it is sweeping across the island as we speak, starting in the west. Also seeing a few snow showers in Lab West, so snow there, changing over to some sort of freezing precipitation, then rain. All that will end on Saturday afternoon, and then on Sunday, we're going to have a windy day in behind all of that. So as you can see here, we've got that precipitation I was just talking about starting here on the west coast. Parts of the northern peninsula will be next, moving on east across the island. Taking a look at our current temperatures across the province, warm spot right now would be anywhere along the south coast from Port aux Basques to Burgeo, west coast warm as well. So is the Burin Peninsula. Chillier along the north coast of the island from St. John's to Lassie, 5 to 2 degrees there, and across the big land, chillier yet again. In the minus below freezing area for Lab West, 1, 2, 3, 4 along the coast for Labrador. We're going to talk about all the rain and what it's going to look like, amounts, and this snow a little later in the show.
Thanks, Heather. A group opposing wind to hydrogen projects on the West Coast gathered in front of Confederation Building this morning. They want consultations with the provincial government so residents can voice their concerns.
We know that 65% of our community are in opposition to this. The effect it's going to have on our Angwell Mountain, that area is significant for the wildlife and birding that happens there. There's tourism, our community is bolstered by tourism. And if you scalp the top of that mountain, which is essentially what's going to happen, is they're going to scalp the top of that mountain. It's going to affect everything that we have ever known the valley to be.
We have a hunting area, 43, moose hunting. A lot of people, local people, cut their wood. You have various small game in the area. You know, there's a lot of concerns about the center of the peninsula going to be gutted for this mega project. We are not against the green energy or the project itself. What we are questioning is that the large scale.
We should be planting trees. We should not be blowing the tops off our mountains and destroying our neighborhoods and our homes in the sake of green energy. You know, we cannot destroy the earth to save the earth.
A grueling 50 kilometers. That's what some runners will face tomorrow at the East Coast Trail Ultra Marathon. It runs from Pooch Cove to Kitty Vitty from sunrise to sunset. Here Now's Jeremy Eaton met up with 2 of the runners earlier today.
About 100 of our closest pals are going to come out here and run 50K from Pooch Cove to Kitty Vitty.
Wayne, I got to ask, why would somebody want to do this?
That's a good question. We get asked it very often. I don't know. You know, a lot of people want the challenge and to see how far they can push their limits.
Before COVID, the race sold out in about 18-20 minutes. So 3 hours this year was a little slow.
And other than bragging rights, does the winner get anything?
Just a lot of pride.
You know, a long run is more an eating challenge than it is a running challenge in a lot of ways. You got to keep calories going in, otherwise you just bonk and you can't finish. And so, you know, some electrolytes and some sugar here, something to eat in your pouch. I like maple syrup. I don't know any other sport where you get to chug maple syrup while you go. And as long as you keep the calories going in and stay hydrated, normally you can feel okay.
The whole spirit of this is about the personal accomplishment, and you got to stay true to that. And you know, little tweaks here and there maybe, just to be a bit more thoughtful in the design for the runners. But other than that, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
This is the premier race in Eastern Canada. We love it. This is 50K along our home trails that we run together and with our friends all the time. This is like Christmas morning for trail runners in St. John's.
It's a Super Bowl for our trail running community in this area for sure.
Yeah. I mean, we can't wait to get at the starting line with our pals, and then we can't wait to be at the finish line cheering everybody as they get in. It'll be great.
Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters!
Nope, please stop. Song is over.
Hey, I can sing if I want.
Yeah, but can you?
Whoa, that's mean. Well, how's this for getting into the spirit? This house on Diamond Marsh Drive in St. John's is lighting up the neighborhood with music and a little show for those passing by.
And if you're going to be passing by anywhere in your Halloween costume tomorrow, you might need a rain jacket. It'll ruin your costume, but it'll keep you dry. We'll talk about the weather in a little bit. Welcome back to Here Now. Before we get to the weather, the town of Dildo is once again in the spotlight thanks to the town's unofficial self-appointed mayor, Jimmy Kimmel.
Yes, earlier this week, Meg Ryan was on Kimmel's late night talk show with David Duchovny promoting their new film, and that's when the host pointed out that he and Meg Ryan share a connection. Dildo, Newfoundland.
Meg, I want to ask you about a photograph that you took. You're not in this photograph, but it's meaningful to me.
Oh, look at that.
Because you're in the town of
That is
Dildo, which is in Newfoundland.
So this is that's Carrie Fisher, her daughter Billy, and Harper Simon, her step son, and she was a travel writer for the New York Times, and she took me to Dildo with her to take pictures.
What year was this?
Can I say that the sign should be flipped up? That arrow should be.
It was a period of refraction. And these, so you went to Dildo as the official photographer.
As the official photographer, we went to Carrie wanted to do a piece. She was on the Napoleon surrendering to the British historical reenactment in Dildo. So we did that. We shopped a lot. We got merch. I got like a T-shirt with a big happy face and then the name of the town underneath.
Is that all you bought?
That's all I bought. That's all I've got.
I happen to be the honorary mayor of Dildo. I don't know if you're aware of this.
How did that happen?
I named myself honorary mayor of the town.
Have you been?
And they're very nice, so they said okay.
Okay.
I've not been because I heard it takes 3 flights to get there, and that's
really
just
long.
too many flights. That's like too many flights for me.
What did you say? It's near a bay of...
It's near the Bay of Conception.
It is.
Ironically, yes.
And Carrie in the piece that is across the town across the way is Spread Eagle. Do you have Dildo mayoral duties?
I have no Dildo duties, no.
Not even honorary?
Really, my duty is to talk about the town every once in a while and promote tourism in my town.
It's worth going.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, it's worth
sure.
So funny, the Bay of Conception.
Where to
and he
start?
still doesn't say Newfoundland correctly.
No. That's a good laugh, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So we're here now on Friday. The weekend is here. How are things looking?
Yeah, not great. That piece with Jimmy Kimmel, that was a laugh. The weather, not so funny for the weekend before Halloween because a lot of people are going to want to go out and wear costumes. It's probably not going to be super wonderful, but let's talk about that. So we've got the future tracker here, seeing some showers on the southwest coast and the west coast, and a few snow flurries here for Lab West right now. This is going to move as we head towards midnight. Over the island, or the better part of the island, except for the eastern half. And in Lab West, we'll see a little bit more snow, and that will change over when we see this mix here move across. That'll be some sort of freezing precipitation for you folks in Lab West. So it could be ice pellets or it could be freezing rain before transitioning over to rain. So that's going to move, continue to move across from west to east into Saturday morning. And we're going to see some winds tonight as well. We could see a gust to 70 in the rec house, 60 for the west coast, and 20 to 40 pretty well elsewhere. Taking a closer look at our temperatures now for tonight, pretty well single digits for the entire province and below freezing for Labrador. We're going to see a chance of showers in St. John's tonight. Winds to 20 kilometers per hour, 2 degrees, about 1 degree through central Newfoundland, and you'll start to pick up about 2 to 4 millimeters tonight in the overnight for Marystown. You'll probably see about 2 to 4 there as well, 6 degrees, so warmer along the south coast. And for Port aux Basques and Burgeo area, southwest, south coast, that part, you should see about 5 to 10 millimeters. More for the west coast. You could see up to 10 to 20 millimeters tonight. 2 to 4 for the northern peninsula, 0 in St. Anthony. You could see some wet snow there tonight, and you could see wet snow before morning for the Straits, and it's going to be quite chilly in Labrador. As you can see, everything into the minus digits with your wind chill factors. -5 to -8 for Labrador. As we pick up tomorrow morning, everyone's going to be seeing likely a bit of something, except for parts of coastal Labrador, but it's coming. And this is going to move right on through the province. Things clearing up a little bit by Saturday afternoon for some places. You can see this here now. This is our rainfall projection, and that shows us the more precipitation there for the west coast parts of the northern peninsula. Taking a look at tomorrow now, we'll see some rain here as well. Temperatures between 11 and 13 degrees warmer, obviously, on the southern shore and for Placentia, where you could see about 2 to 4 millimeters for the Avalon, up to 5 for the Bonavista and Clarenville areas. And for the Boot, 11 degrees, you'll have some showers there as well. You could see 5 to 10 millimeters in through central, 11, 12 degrees for your temperatures, 11 for the Conagra Peninsula, showers there for you folks as well. 2 to 2 millimeters for the south and southwest coasts tomorrow, and 2 to 4 for the west coast, with your temperatures anywhere between 13, 14 degrees. So it's going to be still pretty warm. As we move on up to the northern peninsula, you're going to get the bulk of that rain tomorrow. The 10 to 20 millimeters at the west coast sees tonight, you'll experience probably tomorrow. Temperatures for the northern peninsula, 6 to 8 degrees. A touch warmer for southern Labrador, between 8 and 9. For the rest of Labrador here, we see a little warmer in the west and central, where in Happy Valley Goose Bay, you'll see about 2 centimeters of snow, things transitioning over to rain, followed by 5 millimeters. Labrador West, you could see a flurry there. 8 degrees is your high, but it'll be chilly with that wind chill that we spoke about. Winds could be gusting to 60. Now, your long range, keeping an eye on Halloween, of course. Talk about that later.
Hi everybody, I'm Jane Adey, host of Land and Sea. Brand new show coming to you this weekend, a wildlife show. And this is a show that was put together by reporter Mark Quinn, who is with us now. And Mark, this is a wildlife show about caribou. Tell me how you came across this story.
Yes, so I was at the House of Assembly, which is the opposite of wildlife, and Derek Bragg was speaking, and he was talking about this great project they have on the Northern Peninsula, where they're relocating caribou from one place to another. And he talked about the Grey Islands and this project there and what success it was having. So I thought this is a great story for Land and Sea. People love wildlife. It's all about Newfoundland. The caribou is so important to Newfoundland. So I thought, let's pursue this.
This story, I know from talking to you, sort of ticked all the boxes in terms of a land and sea adventure story. Tell us about what went on behind the scenes.
Yeah, when I thought about this, it's sort of like a childhood's fantasy of what a journalist does. We're in helicopters, we're flying over the caribou, we're shooting them out of the helicopter. There's a lot of excitement, there's a lot of ups and downs, like a roller coaster ride. And also, we were on longliners going out to these remote wild islands. So it was really an exciting adventure. Of course, there's a lot of logistics, and part of the adventure was like, will we be able to pull this off? Will we find caribou? Will the weather hold? And luckily, everything fell into place, and we were able to find caribou and got some beautiful shots for people.
I also heard you had some nice meals with the wildlife officers who took you out there. Lots of good cook-ups while you were there.
Yes, I finally got some tur. I got to eat some tur. We got eider ducks, and we ate some geese as well. So we got some really special meals, some great people. We met really wonderful people who helped us a lot, and were great to meet.
Now, people are going to see some really impressive visuals in this story, and part of the reason for that is because you were able to use a drone camera for this story. Tell us about what you were able to get with the drone.
Absolutely. Well, I think part of the reason why we got caribou at all was because we had drones. I mean, we had to find them with the drones. When we got to the islands, we knew a couple were there. We saw them when we arrived, but they ran off into the distance. And with the drone, we went up and found them, and then we got spectacular shots of them. And they kind of were shots like of them being natural. At first, they were a little bit curious about the buzzing sound, but they got used to it, and we were able to take shots of them sort of being natural in their natural habitat. So we really got beautiful shots. And helicopter shots are great, but there's a lot of movement in a helicopter, and there's a lot of noise, and it kind of freaks out the caribou. But this way we could get some spectacular, beautiful shots that I don't think we could get with helicopters. So it really changes the way we can gather images of wildlife, I think.
I really enjoyed watching it. I think it's going to be a great story that people will love to see. So that story is called The Grey Islands Caribou Revival, and it's coming on this Sunday at 11:30. That's 11 o'clock in most of Labrador. And if you miss it on Sunday, you can always catch it on Monday after Here and Now.
It really was their only saving grace. It was like the brightest part of the day.
The brightest part of the day taken away. Inmates now have to pay for phone access at HMP. I'll speak with a mother who worries that may turn an already tense environment into an explosive one. Inmates inside Her Majesty's Penitentiary are facing another roadblock when it comes to connecting with loved ones. For weeks now, visitation has been suspended because black mold was found in the visitation room, and now the prison is charging inmates for every phone call that they make. Joining me now is Tanya Belbin. Tanya, your son Robert is in Her Majesty's Penitentiary. He's awaiting trial for second-degree murder.
Yes.
Can you tell me what you think about this new policy?
Absolutely. Well, one of the issues we've heard is that this is supposed to be a national system, should have been in place from the get-go where inmates are charged. Okay, so I suspect what we're going to hear from government is just more of, yeah, but that's the standard. Unfortunately, that doesn't take into account what our inmates already face. And personally, I disagree with any system that actually takes away from a person's basic need of connectivity and belonging. The one thing we had was a free phone system where inmates could contact their friends and family. It was a wonderful system. People could talk. There was no limit to time. It really was their only saving grace. It was like the brightest part of the day, and essentially now we've taken that from them.
So explain what the change is. How much money is being charged to the inmates to make these phone calls?
The penitentiary charges them, I think it's $1 per call, and that call is 15 to 20 minutes. If a voicemail picks up, that's a call, there's your 20 minutes. We have a friends and family account, which I have set up, so he can contact me, and that's at a reduced rate. It's like 57 cents a minute. However, there are fees and taxes. So for somebody who would be financially challenged, which I would argue could be a fairly large percentage of the inmates here at HMP, the expectation is that friends or family would be able to use their credit card to put money on their system, and that's an unfair expectation. And so what happens is they actually can't make any calls. So those who are fortunate and can make calls out to family and friends can still continue their calls for a maximum of 20 minutes. Then the system cuts you off. For any of those inmates who just don't have the money, who have now lost their last sense of connectivity, like we've taken away their only bright spot in the day.
There has been so much talk about the conditions inside Her Majesty's Penitentiary, so many issues inside there, and also the concern about tension inside the prison. What do you think something like this could mean to that sense of tension inside the prison?
I'm really glad you asked that question, because I think it's probably one of the most relevant pieces to all of this. As I said before, I think the inmates here face a disproportionate amount of stress due to the situations that they live in. When the tensions build for the inmates, it also builds for the guards. When it builds for the guards, it also builds for the inmates. It's setting them up to either break them or cause them to be in an explosive environment.
What do you think should happen here?
I really think the government should absorb the cost. I think that this particular penitentiary faces an absorbent amount of issues, and as a result, they need to kind of say, we're willing to do something for you. Can we not step up, pay the cost, give them a free phone system so that they can call out? Fine if you get a new penitentiary, but even then I argue, no matter where it is, I have issues with putting costs on the financial backs of those who are often less privileged and in an inmate system to begin with.
Now to Labrador, the inquiry into the treatment of Innu children in care has wrapped up in Shehajit, but it's far from over. Commissioners are heading to Natwashish next month before beginning formal hearings into the death of 6 Innu children in care. A former chief told the inquiry systemic change is long overdue.
I do know that the direction we have to go as a community is to run our own operations, provide our own services by our own people. Our language that we're losing has to come back. The culture that we have has to come back. That's not the reason why we're signing our land rights and all our self-agreements so that we could extinguish ourselves. That's there to promote and to really push our rights and our benefits for this nation. We are strong, and we know what we have to do. But this community and communities sometimes don't see the big picture, and we need to push and promote that. There's not too many of us that have all the knowledge and all the experience and the information. But together, I know we can make it happen. Language, culture, education, run our own services, be our own social workers, our own teachers, really show why we've negotiated and fought for our rights for these past 50 years. Because I know the province has really done a piss-poor job of running our operations under the current legislation. And now the feds will have to do the same thing. They have a big responsibility because they've neglected the Innu for the past 50 years. Ever since Canada and Newfoundland signed Confederation back in '49, Innu were not involved in any of these discussions on the future of our people. And that's why the directions sometime with provincial legislation and the federal legislation seem to be colliding and is mixing up our direction and our rights. And that's not going to happen. We should be changing, we should be in full control of all these of our programs and our services, because these issues that we're bringing forward should all be dealt with. And never again should we be losing our people because of inferior other cultures other than our own people, our own nation, telling us what to do.
Municipal leaders from across the province are gathering in St. John's this week for the annual general meeting of Municipalities NL. Among those who made their way to town is the Anya Kak, or mayor of Hopedale, who spoke to the Signal's host, Adam Walsh, yesterday about Labrador's struggles with climate change.
People are noticing a big difference in our weather. We're getting a lot more wind, fog and rain, lots of sudden storms. One time, the older people could kind of predict the weather just through different signs and through the knowledge that they have. But now everything has changed. You can't do that. We're seeing different species of fish and birds coming into our area, even a turtle this summer. So yeah, it's very different. The water is starting to rise, so some people are noticing at their cabins that they're being flooded out and they have to move their cabins. There's just a big difference.
What's it like now when you're waiting for winter to come compared to when you were a kid?
Well, when I was a kid, around this time we could skate on the ponds and snow would be on the ground. And right now our temperatures are warmer than, some temperatures are warmer in October than it was in August. So it's supposed to be cooling down, but it's actually warming up.
We've done stuff before for CBC saying, the North is the front lines of climate change. What does that mean? You talked about what it was like when you were young compared to now. How does this then impact day-to-day living in northern communities?
Well, just things changed in our communities. There's some things that you can't do. One time you could go off on land at an earlier time, and you can't do that anymore. And you can't provide for your family for country foods because a lot of the times the weather is not nice. You can't get out. There's a lot of things that have changed. Yes.
A Fifth Estate investigation has found that genealogical records and historical research contradict Buffy Sainte-Marie's claim that she's a Cree woman from Saskatchewan. For decades, the celebrated singer-songwriter has said she's a Cree woman born in Saskatchewan, but as Jeff Leo reports, some of her own family members are now casting doubt on that claim.
Buffy Sainte-Marie is considered one of North America's most famous Indigenous people. She started her career way back in the 1960s as a folk singer in New York City, playing alongside the likes of Bob Dylan, Leonard Cohen, Joni Mitchell, and her songs became anthems for both war protesters and also for advocates of Indigenous rights. Now, claims about her ancestry, they've shifted over the years from Algonquin and Mi'kmaq early on in her career, eventually claims that she was Cree. She's also said that she was born on the Piapot First Nation, which is just north of Regina in Saskatchewan, in the early 1940s. And then, her story goes, she was adopted as an infant by an American couple, Albert and Winifred Santa-Maria, and they raised her in Massachusetts. And finally, her story says that in her early 20s, she was reunited with her Piapot relatives and adopted into the Piapot family. Now, I spoke with her niece, Heidi Sainte-Marie, and she says that story is an elaborate fabrication. She says, in fact, Buffy Sainte-Marie is of Italian and English ancestry and was born in Stoneham, Massachusetts.
I mean, she's clearly born in the United States. She's clearly not Indigenous or Native American. She wasn't born in Canada.
Now, CBC's investigation actually uncovered Buffy Sainte-Marie's birth certificate, and it confirms that she was born February 20th, 1941, in Stoneham, Massachusetts. We've asked her for an interview about this, but she's declined our request. In a letter, her lawyer suggested that this birth certificate may not, in fact, be real. The lawyer also says that at no point has Buffy misrepresented her ancestry or any details about herself. Jeff Leo, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, the Fifth Estate's investigation, Making an Icon, streams on YouTube tonight on CBC TV at 9:30 p.m. Island time on CBC Gem. That's a half hour earlier in most parts of Labrador.
Efforts to boost the number of caribou are paying off. Watch the Grey Islands Caribou Revival, Sunday at 11:30 and Monday at 7.
Well, it's Friday, so let's find out who's celebrating. Happy anniversary to Rhoda and Bill Best. They're marking 51 years of marriage. Anniversary greetings going out to Dennis and Patricia Jones of Kilbride. It's their 55th. Congratulations to Ed and Ruby Williams of St. John's, who are celebrating their 60th anniversary. Wishing Jim and Marie Dix of Harbor Grace a happy 67th anniversary. Happy 65th anniversary to Walter and Doris Piercy in St. John's. Walter Walter used to work at CBC building sets for TV productions. Anniversary greetings going out to Glennis and Clarence Mercer of Shearstown. They're marking 55 years of marriage. Happy 62nd anniversary to Hubert and Burl Humby from Roddickton. Wishing Eric and Sandra Chippett of Leading Tickles a happy 55th anniversary. Happy 60th anniversary to Joyce and Donald O'Keefe of Port au Choix. Congratulations to Jack and Velma Curtis in Clark's Beach on their 63rd anniversary. Happy 50th anniversary to Mildred and Delman Reed from Lewisport. Happy 51st anniversary to Robert and Ruby Cooper of Queens Cove. Doug and Mildred Baker of Grand Falls, Windsor are celebrating 50 years of marriage. Anniversary greetings going out to Ronald and Violet Canning of Port Anson, who are celebrating their 65th anniversary on Sunday, which is also Violet's 82nd birthday. So happy birthday too. Happy 56th anniversary to Jim and Alice Vivian of Heart's Delight, Islington. Happy anniversary to Cecil and Louise Jewer of Point Leamington, who are celebrating 58 years of marriage. Now to some birthdays. Happy 90th birthday to Beatrice Worthman of Heart's Delight, now living in Whiteway. Birthday wishes going out to Watson Vivian, who just turned 90. He's from Hare Bay and now lives in Gander. Happy 91st birthday to Nita Decker, who's in Bay Vert. She's celebrating on November 4th. Happy 90th birthday to Ella Blackmore of Gander. Happy birthday to Vera Smith of Elliott's Cove, who just turned 90. Happy 90th birthday also to Captain Woodrow Philpott from Cottlesville. Happy 96th birthday to Randall Moulton of Winterland, now living in CBS. Happy birthday to Alice Mills. She's turning 90. Wishing Maisie Plowman of Clarenville a very happy 90th birthday. Happy 90th birthday as well to Charles Martin of Hickman's Harbor. Best wishes to Ernest Parsons of St. John's, who's celebrating his 90th birthday. Happy 94th birthday to Albina Bursey of Northwest Brook. Phyllis Skiffington of Musgravetown is celebrating her 100th birthday tomorrow. And happy birthday to Olive Reed in Corner Brook, who will be celebrating her 100th birthday on Monday. Another fine crowd. Congratulations once again. So we're going to look at the long-range forecast, but first it's going to be a pretty big night downtown in St. John's tomorrow night because it's Mardi Gras.
That's right.
So lots of people going out dressing up for Halloween. What's the weather going to be like for that?
Well, we're going to have all that rain and snow move through for Labrador, changing over to rain, and it's the Environment Canada saying right now that things are going to clear off in the afternoon. So hopefully that remains the case. Or else, like I said earlier, maybe you'd have to put on a rain jacket over your Halloween costume. And I know no one loves that.
Yeah.
You want to show off all your hard work, especially if you made it yourself.
Yes, and there's a contest on for best costume too.
Exactly. So hopefully things will clear off for you. But taking a look at Halloween, a bit of a mixed bag, but we can talk about that a little bit later. But let's get to what Friday in through Saturday into Sunday is going to look like. We're going to see Saturday that rain move across the island, and it should be pushing off from parts of the southwest coast Saturday morning, and a little bit of clearing here behind it. And as we look at the wind as well, we will see some wind Saturday. And this is Saturday in the morning. As we go through Saturday, we could get some pretty big gusts. So if you have any pieces of your costume, you may also want to make sure that they are secured so that they don't blow away. Now, if we take a closer look going into Sunday, here we go. This is the right one now. We can see Sunday morning, this system here is departing and pushing off, and in behind it is kind of more sun and cloud for the island. So when you wake up Sunday, if you have any daytime Halloween parties to go to, in addition, looking like the kind of better day for it. Chance of showers here in the east, sun and cloud elsewhere. In the single digits for the most part, though, warmer in St. John's. Still kind of cool across Labrador, where you could could see a chance of snow or flurries, or for Happy Valley Goose Bay, a chance of flurries. Looking on ahead to Monday now, it's looking like that's a bit of a more of a mixed bag with some precipitation moving up from here that could affect the Avalon on Tuesday, which is Halloween, which we were talking about. We could see for Port aux Basques some snow or some rain, cloud pretty well for the rest of the island, sun and cloud. For the most part for Labrador. Chilly though, you could see a snowflake or two though in Lab West. Now our long range. Tuesday is the day I've got my eye on there. We could see a shower with our temperatures between 0 and 6 degrees. Some cloud though in the evening on Tuesday, which is when you'll be out knocking on doors. For Central, Tuesday, got my eye on that too. It looks like it's gonna be cloudy with a chance 60% chance for you folks of either snow or rain. Temperatures between -5 and 3 for Western. It looks like, again, a 60% chance for you folks between -1 and 4, so chilly. Maybe you might have to put that winter jacket on underneath your costume if you can squeeze it in there. Eastern Labrador, Happy Valley Goose Bay area, sun, look at that, between -1 and -7. And for Western Labrador, it looks like you could see a chance of a flurry, which isn't too bad. Hopefully it melts right off your costume, and -9. Our weather photo, another beautiful sunset. Look at that, isn't it just gorgeous?
Gorgeous.
That's Cobb's Pond, and it comes from Roger Primer. And if you got a photo, send it to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Love the reflection of the clouds in the water. Just beautiful,
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So nice.
Well, that's it for us on this Friday evening. Hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Good night.